If there's one type of game I've found I have a real soft spot for, it's gentle, cute, modern adventure games. As in, not point and click, but more like running around and interacting with objects and NPCs, and especially ones that take something inherently calm and idyllic and turn it into a game. Often, these kind of games have something profound to offer about subjects that are sometimes difficult to tackle with the requisite level of sensitivity, such as depression or, as in today's case, disability. And that is also something I love to see. One of the great joys of video games are that they are an interactive medium, allowing them to approach these topics in an infinitely more tactile way, drawing a connection between subject and audience in a more arresting manner than can sometimes be done through other forms of art. Today's game is testament to that. You're listening to the almighty Backlog. I'm Ellie, and today's review is on Find Your Words, available for PC. Originally released in April of 2026, developed and published by Capybara Games. It's an adventure game, and How Long to Beat has an average playtime of about an hour. Let's start this off with a truth bomb. Parenting is really hard. I know. Stop the presses, you've never heard anything of the like. But, speaking as a parent of a precocious 3-year-old, it genuinely is one of the toughest challenges I've ever faced. There's no amount of books you can read or advice you can get which honestly or even remotely prepares you for it. It's a full and total upending of your life. Things like your hobbies, your social life and your sleep all get thrown up into the air and you're left trying to juggle everything, alongside the needs of this tiny human that depends on you entirely. As they grow older, the stresses never fade, but they do get easier to rationalise as you see this life you created blossom into their own person. Now, my daughter has been a particular challenge for me. For one, I'm a creature of routine and habit. The slightest thing going out of whack or breaking my meticulously planned days can really set me off into the deep depressive spirals, which I find catastrophically hard to manage. That's been extra tough with a child in my life because, in what I'm sure will surprise no one, kids don't really work to your schedules. On top of that, my child is right at the beginning of the pathway to see if she is neurodivergent. As I'm sure you can imagine, that's presented its own brand new challenges as her behaviour develops and she shows her own foibles and preferences. It's something one rises to meet as a parent, but it's also a time of huge new learning as we help her find her way in the world. Perhaps that's why I resonate so strongly with Find Your Words. The game's blurb makes reference to the fact that its developers are a pair of dads who wanted to celebrate their children's respective journeys with non-verbal communication. Specifically, Find Your Words is a showcase of AAC, or Alternative and Augmentative Communication, which broadly encompasses an array of different techniques used by children in place of talking. Raising a non-verbal kid must be its own unique challenge, but to both manage that and also to have the creativity to turn it into a video game is a marvellous showcase of the mentality of these parents, especially as it gets to highlight an aspect to raising a child that isn't always known or seen. What's even more engaging though is that Find Your Words is played from the perspective of the child. We're dropped off at a summer camp by our mum, who mentions to the camp supervisor, a gentle smiling bloke named Ian, that her child is non-verbal. He's not fazed at all though, and presents us with a special binder that contains a few pictographic flashcards. These are stored in the binder's pages, while mounted on the cover is a special board to which these cards can be affixed before we press the Show Symbols button. These, Ian explains, allow us to form rudimentary sentences. For example, our starting cards of Hi and Who can be used together to introduce ourselves and ask who the person we are talking to is. With this in our arsenal, we are set loose in the small but idyllic confines of the camp. Our objective is simply to introduce ourselves to everyone and make some new friends. Sounds basic, but to a kid, let alone a non-verbal one, I'm sure that feels like a daunting concept. All the other kids at the camp are more than happy to natter though, introducing themselves with a chirpy glee that matches the game's sunny aesthetic and placing a flashcard of themselves in your binder. They've all got a hobby they're pursuing that day. One wants to know everyone else's favourite dance moves, another is a budding artist looking for landscapes to paint, and another wants to play hide and seek, and so on. Obviously, you find yourself enlisted to help realise your friend's needs. This mostly takes the form of toddling around the camp and its surrounding environment, first searching out your new friends, and then afterwards to fulfil whatever they ask of you. The painter, for example, needs to be told about places to paint, and the only way to do that is to explore the camp in order to find pictures for your binder, which then need to be shown to your friend to let them know where to go next. Most of the needs of your campmates are at about the same level of complexity, but that's not really a complaint. Not only does it let Find Your Words sit comfortably among the canon of cozy games, but it's also kind of fitting in context that the biggest things on these kids' minds are whatever brings them the simplest expression of joy. A couple of them are a bit more game-y, for want of a better term. One friend has you go on a scavenger hunt for a lost charm, and the hide-and-seek friends activity works precisely how you'd expect it to. But for me, the one that comes to mind primarily is the birdwatcher. I was quite excited when the game gave me some binoculars and asked me to go hunt down a modest collection of birds. I was already getting strong Alba vibes, and this just cemented them. You do this by wandering around the camp and listening for birdsong, which then tells you that you need to whip out your binoculars and scan around for it. I felt like some of them were really well hidden. It's by far the fiddliest bit of the game, as you often need to be in just the right spot to see the birds, and let's face it, the method you have of locating them isn't the most elegant or precise. It's important to point out though that that's both a minor critique and also not really the point of Find Your Words. Like many similar games, take Alba, which I'd already mentioned, or A Short Hike say, the goal here is to sink into the good vibes of, well, being a nice person. The setting is beautiful, a calm oasis of lapping waves and trees swaying gently in the breeze, and there's no challenge to it in terms of exploration. You're going around helping your friends because that's what friends do, and the satisfaction of being an active part of them having a fun day is the reason to do it. Along the way, Find Your Words wants to showcase that needing an alternative way to communicate needn't be a barrier to life, if only you're provided the resources to do so. It's a game about the resilience of children, the importance of play, and yes, even perhaps it serves to provide some ideas of how to help parents who find themselves in the same space that this game's developers did. In an increasingly cruel and acerbic world, games like Find Your Words have a vital part to play in reminding us that tranquil joy and support are part of what makes us human. The final score is 5 out of 7. Great. Fine stuff. A game that maybe doesn't make the top echelon of games, but sparkles regardless and holds the interest expertly. Do make the time to give this a play. This has been Ellie on The Almighty Backlog. You can support this project by reading the review over on thealmightybacklog.wordpress.com, or by listening to this pod review hosted on RSS and YouTube. Please feel free to follow me over on Mastodon, Blue Sky and or Backlogged by following the links on the website. If you'd like to support the show financially, you can do so by donating via PayPal to thealmightybacklog@gmail.com or by hitting the donate button on the blog. Thank you for listening and have a lovely day.